So you got away because you went public. Is this correct?
I went public, and even at
And
the
to this
beginning
day-
they threatened me. At that point, after I said to them, listen, even if you threaten me now, I said openly to the policeman, and also my wife went to the social workers, because we had to go to the social workers after, otherwise they would take our kids, said very clearly, my husband is not going to stop with what he's doing. He will carry on. If this is a free country, he has to do this, and he has to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, they couldn't arrest me anymore like before, or put me and torture me for hours and do whatever. Because at that point, I would go immediately on the net, as soon as I was out, put everything, and finally I had an audience.
Right.
Obviously, the problem was, who was my audience? The problem was that my audience obviously maybe was not judged as serious by many people, because the alternative media sometimes is not judged as serious. Mm-hmm. But for me, at least, it was a mean to spread my information and to be able to protect myself. And they took this very seriously. In fact, what happened 2 weeks later, I was invited to Livorno, on 21st of December, to a P2 lodge in Livorno. I have pictures of that meeting also, by their grandmaster there, asking me, all in a nice kind way, offer me nice dinner, to please stop with those revelations.
Oh, really?
But the guy who asked me, Grandmaster Mauro Lazzari and Luigi Piazza, because I refused, they were punished themselves. And in June, just now, 2007, the police raided their headquarters of the Masonic orders. There is this documentation in Livorno, and it was the biggest scandal since the P2, because it's connected also to the Christian Democratic Party, because their lodge, where I was meeting, was the headquarters of the Christian Democratic Party, UDC, of Cesar, which is the party close to the Vatican. So obviously you don't need to be a genius to link 1 + 1 is 2, you know. You have a Masonic lodge in the headquarters of the Christian Democratic Party. These people, the Christian Democratic Party, has been working with the NSA, the CIA for 50 years in the Gladio secret operation. These people, Balestieri, Ezio Giunchiglia, these people all belong to Gladio. Gladio is a secret operation against communism that has been very important, because 9/11 has been the same kind of operation that the Italians have seen over and over again in the strategic years of tension, we call them, in the 70s, when we had the killings of the station of Bologna, of Piazza Fontana. All these killings were organized by so-called deviant secret services apparatus. Nobody understood ever. It was maybe the Red Brigades, there was the Russians.
So who was it?
It was the Americans and the Vatican, you know, who was it? Doing it on themselves. Gladio was an operation in which
And so was 9/11 also the Americans and the Vatican?
Absolutely, and the Zionists. And the Mossad. The Mossad was very important in this. In fact,
sure.
and also the...
So is the idea to create basically...
They reflect a prophecy, because in the Zohar, at a specific point of the Zohar, is written that in the city of the big tower, in the specific date, the 21st date, I think, of Elul, of the Jewish calendar, that was the 11th of September, boom, there will be this disaster, the tower will fall down. It's written in the Zohar. Zohar, for the Kabbalists, is the most holy text for the Jewish Kabbalists. So, they read, knock their heads on the wall, and reflect what is there. Now, as we have the Mossad, the Zionist element, the Jewish occult element, which is very important because the Kabbalah is born out of them, but born originally where? From Egypt. And the same happened with because we don't have to see only Christianity or Catholicism as coming only from Judaism. No, that's very wrong. We have to see Christianity as coming from a mix of pagan religions that the Emperor Constantine put together, including the cult of Isis, of Osiris, of Mithras, of all these...
but this was from Atlantis, was it not?
All originally from Atlantis, but Atlantis and many other Atlantis civilizations before that, because the thing is that we have only knowledge about maybe one ancient civilization before ourselves, but there is many others that have been eliminated and we know nothing about it.
Mm-hmm. Leo, I want to ask you, do the Masons or the Illuminati have ancient texts coming directly from Atlantis? Do they have information about this?
Now, this is the legend that really managed to fraud. They managed to fraud Hitler, Churchill with this kind of thing. So it's quite interesting. You know, the Book of Thought or some kind of tablets, ancient tablets that come from Atlantis, were supposed to be hidden in the pyramids, hidden there, hidden. There is definitely stuff that comes from ancient times, and there is specific groups within the Illuminati, like for example the Gruppo di Thebes, group of Thebes, which is a specific group within the Illuminati which takes care only of the ancient artifacts. And
these must be in the Vatican. They're in the Vatican Library, are they not?
In the Vatican Library, and we have a lot of ancient artifacts, ancient books, very rare text that could revolutionize the thought of mankind. But as I said, because we will have to go to the next stage of existence in one way or another, the Vatican wants to adapt. So how they adapt? They adapted with Corrado Balducci and the whole alien revolution coming into the Vatican, Secretum Omega and a couple of UFOs, and everybody's happy. Because the next step of brainwashing is to have you believe that Jesus is some kind of Prince of Sirius that comes on this planet as a high priest and is himself an alien being or some kind of alien high priest from Sirius. Sirius is very important. We don't have to joke with Sirius. We don't, because Sirius is Sirius in every way, and it says, the word says it. Is in the universal apparatus the eye of God. So, you know, you have a bunch of sheep which are stars.
So
no, watch. Shepherd, and then you have a dog. Now the dog star is Sirius, is the dog of this, you know, you have a lot of stars running around, but they're sheep. And then you have a shepherd, and you have a shepherd's dog. Yeah? So this is how it works in the universe. Now we should go back to reacquire in modern times the concept of analogy. Of not logic, but analogy. Why? Because logic is actually created by mankind. It was created by mankind at the time of ancient Greece, and then filtered through our civilization through to us. But in ancient times, analogic was equally as important. So, by rediscovering the analogic method, the parallels between the fact that everything in the universe works as a mirror, as a reflection, are a reflection of the one big bang, the first, and then everything else is a reflection. So there is a constant loop of this reflection in many different forms. Infinite loop that goes through the universe, and we find in this cup, we find in this little apparatus.
Sure, and then you're talking about symbolism, and you're talking about the use of symbols is magic. And again, you're back in the circle.
Yeah. But as I said, do we really want, if we want the next stage, then we have to acknowledge the science of God. Okay, no problem. That has to be done, because sooner or later mankind will have to come out of this ignorance. But at the moment, what we are having is just some substitutes, especially in the New Age movement or cults that have been created lately.
Okay, but what about science? And what about the idea that there might be Planet X or some other planet out there? Is this completely a figment of people's imagination based on something that the Illuminati wants to put out there for their purposes of revelation and Armageddon?
From my experience of the whole Zacharias Sitchin, like I mentioned before, from my experience and from what Barbara and then the Secretum Omega and all this information coming out of the alternative media, it's clear that they want to control the alternative media. And they want to control also our own myths. Nibiru, this planet of ancient times, from Sumerian, they call Nibiru in Sumerian times, Planet X, coming back, you know, there where it comes, these Anunnakis have dropped out from this planet into ours and have, there is definitely an ancient time in which we have been merging with other creatures from the universe. This is described clearly in the book of Enoch. But who were these creatures? These creatures were the rebels that were escaping, the rebel angels that were escaping from God in a way. What we have here in this present situation is that we think they are in reality interbreeds between mankind and aliens. And this is the biggest disinfo that we can get.
Okay, if you believe that's disinfo, then let's talk about underground bases. Why do we have underground bases, since you say that in your experience they do exist?
In my experience, they do exist, and they do exist also people that are particularly inclined in working those underground bases, because you can experiment bacteriological, nuclear, and all kinds of devices that are not possible to be experimented overground. And also to experiment the most evil of the evil, because mankind nowadays is playing God, playing with genes, playing with mixing a cow with a dog, with a human, with a lion, with a...
Okay, but what about...
we are
Okay,
not,
so you're saying genetic engineering,
you're saying
genetic engineering, you're saying hidden, atomic bombs, whatever, experimentation.
And also
but why
especially,
are they building cities underground?
Cities underground are built for the disaster scenario, the doomsday scenario.
Well, is there such a thing? Is
yes.
it? What is that? Is this a real scenario, or is this fake?
From my experience in the Illuminati,
Yes.
the moment in which 2012 was mentioned was either because 2012 was 21st of December, the peculiar date in which a ritual had to start, a Pythagorean ritual, because Freemasons traced their ancestry to Pythagoras as their first...
Pythagoras, yes.
For them, the fact that this 25920 is the number of God, and it coincides with the changing of an era, has to be celebrated with a ritual that reflects above below. So on the 21st of December, you're going to all see them there with their aprons. The thing is a holy day, it's the winter equinox.
But do we see no cataclysm?
The whole pyramid will be together. For the first time, every single cult will be celebrating one way or another this specific day. Because we are moving the whole of our consciousness into a different part of the universe here.
So this is a positive vision of the future, isn't it?
I have definitely a positive vision of the future, but I also have some questions regarding how the so-called Illuminati at the top really are taking things. Because when it was about 2012, they were really driven by uncertainty, and their tendency was to build an underground bunker to protect their matter interests, than to really grasp that this could be an evolutionary stage to go there.
Of consciousness,
yeah.
a change of consciousness.
But for them, it's not,
you don't need an underground base for a change of consciousness.
No, but for them this is a business operation. I understand. The moment in which there is something happening on top which is uncontrollable, a nuclear device will be triggered, the whole place will be very dangerous, and underground bases are required.
So you're saying the Illuminati are planning to let loose nuclear bombs.
They are planning
around the time of 2012, they are going to unleash them.
There will be some very big happenings, especially because they will be triggered by, unfortunately, very serious events that might happen around the Olympics of 2012 in England, which seems to be...
In England, but 2012, okay, so what about the 2008 Olympics in China? You know anything about that?
No, that is... my brainwashing control operation of Chinese. Chinese represent this day the ideal government for the Illuminati, or for who wants to do business. Because the Illuminati, including these people here I was on the picture before, they all meet up in Shanghai doing business. One of the rituals, which I'm going to show you a picture after if I remember, is the ritual of the ancient Chinese tea, which is not a tea, but it's a kind of specific drink that they bring from a little village that it tells you gives you immortality, but actually gives you a lot of energy. It's like 20 ginseng altogether, or like a line of cocaine. It's a specific water they bring from this village, and a specific plant which they make this tea, and everybody was enjoying it in Moscow much more than any drug. And I found this very interesting, and they were doing the classic traditional Chinese tea ritual, that was the... But what is the admiration of the West for the Chinese is especially their absence of any form of democracy, the complete control of their society. For America, being like China is a dream nowadays. Why? Because the American dictators that are implementing now their so-called Patriot Act see in China the ideal place where nobody can actually object to anything. You can't have more than one child. But at the same time, this also gives the Americans and the people at the fake opposition, because America is not a real opposition to China, forget it, they want to make cash with China, they want to make cash with Iran, Iran wants to make cash with America, cash with China, Sudan, who cares, make the cash, couple of Hollywood stars running at Darfur. Bullshit! People are idiots, you know, giving money to these idiots and putting them in power. My God, I don't understand. Democracy, the biggest illusion of all time. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And the division between church and state is a fake. It doesn't exist. It's all linked, and
it's all run by the Vatican and the Jesuits at the top of the pyramid.
I know, and you forgot to mention also the Zionists, which are very powerful in this whole enclave, which represent the old aristocracy of the old Jewish families are the old aristocracy. Why? Because these aristocratic families, like for example the Queen of England, like to trace themselves back to King David. They see themselves, including my family, the Lyon family, as descendants either of Jesus or at least of King David. So they seem to be viewing England in general a bit like the lost tribe of Israel. So that's why you have this British Zionism, and also why the aristocracy in England interbreeded so much with the Jews and certain Jewish families. So to create this whole thing, so whereby at the end you don't understand anymore who is in control of anything, because he's married with him and then married with him.
We are running out of time here.
One last thing. Well, you can see when they're giving the Nobel Peace Prizes, especially in Sweden, you have a whole table of leading Zionist Jewish families. Then you have the aristocrats. Everything is in order, in this new world order, and has a specific place to it.
Okay, well, thank you, Leo. You're a very brave man. Obviously, you're going up against an incredible opponent, and you.
I think that I'm going up definitely against an incredible opponent, because for certain people, they fall into the trap of becoming victims of it. And this, I think, is happening a bit to the Barbato guy with his Secretum Omega. It's easy to become victim of this whole disinfo operations or of this mind control that is going on for certain projects. For example, there was a guy who was deliberately made give this information regarding the cosmic top secret level of NATO, saying that it was linked with the recovering of...
You're talking about Robert Dean, the person we interviewed.
Yeah, a guy like him. I didn't know you interviewed him, but I heard about him many times. I think is the typical example of how you can fall victim of these people. Because at that point, they give you certain information. They know they have given you this, they have showed you certain things. They have showed you just enough, okay, boom. And then the rest of the life, what you do? You get kicked out of all your jobs, you get to become the victim, obviously. But at the same time, what you saw and what really you are reporting, is it really true, or is it a cover-up and an operation to cover up other interests by the powers that are there and by the people on top of you that know obviously very well how to mind control people and how to spread this information? We said before, some people call them in another way aliens, UFO, so you said it's only a matter of calling them in different ways. Yes, but by calling them aliens and UFO and by spreading the myth of Roswell and all that, what has happened is just that people, the modern day, the average person out there, watching TV, gets brainwashed by all this rubbish, and at the end of the day, he's not really understanding that there is demons, there is angels, there is God, and if there is an end of time scenario, this is a very serious scenario and should be taken very seriously.
Okay, that's it. Do you have any more?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, say that one more time. And this scenario, say your last line.
And this scenario is definitely very important if we are approaching the end of times, and some great changes will be definitely happening. But for them to brainwash you about the aliens and all that, while instead the real intention is to just microchip you and put you in a global network in which you are the prisoner, that is their objective.